Hello, my friends. I'm your host, Daniel Wilcox, and you're listening to episode number 28 of the Writer's Chair podcast. And it is Thursday, 16th of July, 2026, as I record this. In today's show, I'm going to be talking to British horror author Catherine Cavendish about her new book, Ghosts of Chantelands, her 40-year publishing journey that proves success rarely happens overnight, how to inject originality into a genre that has seen it all, and much, much more. So stick around for that. But before we get into all of that, here is my personal update. And it's a bit of a shorter one today because it's been a very, very busy week. I'm moving house in a couple of weeks. So a lot of that has now taken precedent over anything else going on in my life. So my partner is packing and sorting a lot of the stuff out. We've got a lot of bits and pieces to sort. You know how it goes with moving house. So that's going to be all encompassing for the next 2 weeks. So if I look tired, if I sound more hoarse and more stressed, that's why. Outside of that, I still have my 7-day mini course, which is free over at danielwilcox.com. That is my course, which is called Finish Your Damn Draft. And the intention is to help people who are struggling to get to the end of their first draft to get to the end of their first draft. And what it does is it takes the principles, the 7 biggest principles I could think of, the things that I still use today to help me get through imposter syndrome, to work through when I'm having a tough time and I can't find the right words, and just to get that first draft down so I can then, as Catherine will say later on in this interview, get past that first draft and really at that point get into the writing, because the writing starts after that first draft is done. So if you want to check that out, that's at danielwilcox.com/finish. And that's absolutely free. 7 days of content straight into your inbox every single day. The other thing going on at the minute is I have been absolutely inundated, and I genuinely mean this, with requests for website designs. So I put an article up on my website and up on the Devil's Rock Books website about how Reedsy has just been amazing for helping me get requests for authors looking for websites. And I've had a dozen at least this week. I've got about 5 or 6 that I've taken over the line. So my next few weeks are going to be busy building people's websites, which hasn't left a whole lot of extra room for writing at the minute, which is a bit of a bummer. But at the same time, needs must. It's all fine. I'm still working on some books. It's just a bit slower at the minute. And so, yeah, I finished a website last week. I'm working on one this week. I've got 2 more next week. I've got another one the week after that. It's all fun. It's all happening. So if you are listening to this and you need a website, feel free to reach out to myself. I have information over at danielwilcox.com/authors/websites, author-websites. And also on the Devil's Rock Books page as well. I've got my website info over there. So just go to either of those websites. You can check it out and get in touch. Almost tempted to offer people that listen to this podcast a discount. Maybe. Well, think about it. And get in touch and maybe I will. And then the only other final thing is I'm doing a lot of behind the scenes work at the minute to get all my books updated, all the front and back matter sorted, doing a lot of gathering quotes and things for buying in stock so I could have all of my books in paperback in piles for when I go to events and start booking in my first author events, which I'm very, very excited for. And that's a little bit of a tease to my guest for next week. And we're going to go into a lot of in-person event stuff then. But yeah, it's a lot of go. And to be honest, I've just been on 2 hours worth, or 2.5 hours worth of recording interviews at the time of this recording. So I'm a little bit brain fried. So I might just leave it there. But this interview is with, as I say, the wonderful Catherine Cavendish. I met her in Liverpool. Again, there's a theme with some of these horror authors. I met her in Liverpool at the Indie Horror Chapter UK event and was kind of blown away by it was a table, like 2 meter by 1 meter table, just literally filled with her books. And I was even more shocked to learn that she was first published in 2011. So over 15 years, she's managed to fill the table with books. She's been published by a number of cool publishers like Crossroad Press. She mentions in the interview about Samhain. She's with Flame Tree Press now, which is a pretty awesome press to be with if you're in the horror scene. So she is just a font of wisdom. She is fun. She likes spooky stuff. She's quirky. She's brilliant. She's Catherine, and I cannot wait for you to listen to her episode. So I'm going to shut up now, take a breath, because I realize I've been talking quite fast for the last 5 minutes. Faye, if you're listening to this, don't say a word. And there we go. I'm going to say that if you're ready, I am ready. Pull up a chair, grab a notepad, and let's get into it. Catherine Cavendish writes suspense fiction steeped in the supernatural, paranormal, and gothic, the kind of ghost stories that make you check the locks twice. Her new novel, Ghost of Chantelands, lands via Flametree Press on 18th of August 2026, joining a haunting catalogue that includes Dark Observation, The Haunting of Henderson Close, and her Nemesis of the Gods trilogy published through Crossroads Press. When she's not writing, Catherine wanders Neolithic stone circles and explores old haunted houses, research that clearly blends into her fiction. She lives with a long-suffering husband and a black cat who still expects to be worshipped. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Danny. It's lovely to be here.
I'm very, very excited to talk to you. And I will first say off the bat that you've given me permission to call you Cat. So if I suddenly slip into that in the conversation, just so listeners know that I'm not being rude, I have asked permission beforehand. But I am
I promise not to scratch.
Oh, that's always helpful. But before we kind of dive into some sort of hard-hitting questions, the stuff that really makes people worry and panic in their boots. I heard in an old interview that Rosemary's Baby is one of your favourite books of all time and one of your favourite films of all time. And as someone who hadn't read it until about 2 weeks ago and just needs someone to share how good it is with, talk to me about your love for Rosemary's Baby, because that book was phenomenal.
About Rosemary's Baby. Well, I think I read the book before I actually saw the film, and it's all happened many years ago when I was probably about 14, 15, something like that. So the film was, oh my God, incredibly not that old then. Mia Farrow was still young. God, I feel old now. Rosemary's Baby, like Ira Levin, is probably these days only really known for Rosemary's Baby, but he wrote a whole load of other books as well, and he's always worth picking up. He's as a horror writer I discovered in my early teens, and he lights out of me in such a delicious way. I had to keep coming back for more.
Mm-hmm.
And the film, I thought, was one of the best adaptations I've ever seen of book to film, because normally you have this problem, don't you? You've read the book, you see the film, you don't like the film, or you've seen the film, you read the book, you don't like the book.
Yes.
And the two don't mesh. You don't see the characters the same way, or they miss bits out that you think, oh no, you should have left that in, that was wrong. But Roman Polanski, whatever his faults, and he's got plenty of them, goodness only knows, when it came to Rosemary's Baby, I cannot think of a better adaptation, a more faithful in so many ways adaptation. I thought everything worked. The casting was superb, and Mia Farrow, she had this sort of waif-like innocence about her, like she was like America's answer to Twiggy, and at the time she looked it and she behaved it. But at the same time, she comes over with this fierce determination and this inner strength. And I thought that was fabulous. And you really identified with her, sorry. And I thought that the characters, the neighbours, the sinister neighbours, they started off being very sweet and that build-up of tension, and it just ratcheted up and ratcheted up and ratcheted up, and just in case anybody hasn't seen it already or whatever, I better not put any more. I've already put enough spoilers in there, but it really builds to such a crescendo, and it's edge of the seat stuff as a reader and also as a viewer watching the movie. I just think the whole thing was just sublime. It was brilliant.
You see, I've never seen the film. That's on my list of things to watch. The book has been on the fringes of things to read for a while, and I managed to pick up quite a cheap copy, to be fair, a couple of weeks ago. And it wasn't a book that just on the surface I was like compelled to read, but after reading it, I was like, I don't know why I didn't read it sooner. Just because it is a true masterclass in bearing in the lead, in subtle suggestion, in psychological misleads, and it's like you as the reader, you kind of the membrane in your skin cells knows what's going on, but your mind doesn't catch up. And I thought it was just fantastic. So as someone who's only just come to the realization that this is an incredible book, thought it'd be nice to share that with you.
Yeah, and do go back to Ira Levin and seek out his other books as well. I think most of them are in print, or if not, you'll find battered old second-hand versions, or maybe libraries may still have some copies on the shelves. If you're going to ask me what the titles are now, my head's gone completely blank.
I know, but Stepford Wives is one.
So the Stepford Wives is
Stepford
definitely
Wives.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
The spooky version rather than the funny version, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember, but they really are. Oh, Kiss Before Dying. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, nice.
That was his. I think that was its first book, actually. That was made into a film as well. Yeah, really, really good books. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, tell me a little bit about your publishing journey, how you got started. I know that you found an
Mm.
interest in books when you were sort of 8 years old, but talk to me about specifically the publishing journey that you have been on, because one of the things
Okay.
that has drawn me into obviously having this conversation with you is we met in Liverpool at the Indie
Yeah.
UK Horror Chapter BookCon. And I was just kind
Mm.
of bowled away by how many books you have at your table and kind of just this
Yeah.
display of prolificness, if that's even a word. And so how did you get to that point? Where did you start and how did you get to this table full of wonders?
Right. Well, the story goes back many, many, many years, back to the days of typewriters and submitting manuscripts, papery things, typewritten things that you would have carbon copies, carbon paper, yeah, carbon copies. You literally go down to the post office laden with parcels of manuscripts, 500 sheets of A4 because you weren't allowed to type on both sides of it, and it
Yeah.
was all stuff and sent. Oh, and then you wait for the rejections. So anyway, we'll skip 40 years and come up to the almost present. Um, my first publisher, my first proper traditional publisher, shall we say, was a company called Utopia Press. And I got with them through joining an online writing community called Litopia, which got nothing to do with two organizations, had nothing to do with each other. Just coincidence, the names are a little bit familiar. And Litopia was sort of a support group for writers at all stages of their careers. And we shared knowledge, information about who we'd heard about that was publishing whatever kind of fiction we were interested in writing. And we also critiqued each other's work. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat now. And it was very much a sort of supportive help group. Sorry about that. And so I heard of this new publisher, Utopia, and one or two of my colleagues on the writing group had submitted horror and were getting short stories published with them and novellas and so on. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it a go because I've been writing not just in horror. I'd written all sorts of things. I'd gone from romance through to historical fiction, through crime and all sorts, but I'd landed on horror because I really that's what I love to read, but the creepy, ghostly kind of horror. So I submitted a story to Utopia Press, and they bought it. That was a short story called In My Lady's Chamber, and I was published by them for a couple of years. And then there was a competition run by a publisher called Sam Hain Publishing, who sadly are no more, and they wanted four novellas. They wanted four authors, four novellas to comprise an anthology of Gothic horror. And a friend of mine I'd met through Litopia, Julia Cavan, also a horror writer, she said, I think you should go for this, to me, because it's your kind of thing. So I thought, right, okay, shall I shan't? Yes, I will. I'd seen it advertised as well, so I went for it. And I got an email from a lovely man called Don Doria, who is now my editor, still my editor, saying, welcome to the Sam Hain family. And I still have that email. And that was in 2011, I think, 2010 or 2011. And the story was Linden Manor. And it was one of four stories in the What Waits in the Shadows anthology, published by Sam Hain the following year. And that introduced me to Don Doria, who, as I say, is still my editor now. He went, sadly, Sam Hain is no more. I had books published with them, but Sam Hain closed its doors a few years ago. Don went off and did other things freelance as he does anyway. But then he got in touch with me and said, I'm joining a company, a publisher called Flame Tree Press. They're just starting up as an offshoot of Flame Tree Publishing. And have you got anything for us? Because I'd really like to see your work again. I love your work. So I was working on a novella, which was The Haunting of Henderson Close. And it was about 36,000 words at that point. Never thought about it as being a novel. And so I said to Don, it is too short for you. I know you want full-length novels, but if it grows up, would you be interested? Yes, most certainly, he said. I worked on it, and it became rather more than 35,000. In fact, it sort of nearly doubled its length. I sent it to John, and I was one of the early writers to come along and join Flame Tree Press, where Don Doria was then and still is the senior commissioning editor. And he brought with him really a little collection of writers from Samhain. And of course, we were joining, one of those writers was the great and immortal, in my opinion. He'll always be with us, even when he isn't physically with us, Ramsey Campbell.
Yes.
So not only had I got the greatest editor you could wish to have, I was also in the same stable as the greatest horror writer, greatest living horror writer, as acknowledged by a number of very worthy sources, not just me. So I'm in good company, put it that way. And so I'm in the same stable as Ramsey Campbell. It really couldn't be better. So I've been with Flame Tree ever since. Crossroad Press, who you mentioned in the little intro there, they have been very kind to republish books of mine that were published with Samhain or Utopia, and also in the case of the trilogy, the Wake of the Ancients, Down by the Ancients, Wrath of the Ancients, that trilogy, the Nemesis of the Gods one, that was published by another publisher, but then became available again, and they've picked that up. So Crossroad have been absolutely fabulous, and I also publish new novellas with them as well. And those are my two main publishers now, and I have wonderful relationships with both of them, and I love them to pieces. And that's where I am now, writing novels and novellas, and also short stories, which I've had published in Flame Tree Publishing's anthologies and other anthologies as well. But it's been a tough, hard, long slog, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's easy for people to, like myself, turn up at that table, see this sort of bounty of works and think, well, she's clearly, this is someone that's got it all in the bag. It must be very, very easy for Kat to get all the books over the line. But behind the scenes, as you say, there's we're in 2026, so at least sort of 15 years of putting in the work, of sitting down in afternoons, if I'm writing my research with yourself, and getting the words out on paper. So what would you tell your 2011 self before all of this kind of success kicked off? Because there must have been, doubt there. I'm just trying to relate it to a lot of my listeners are people that either haven't published their book yet or they just published their first books. So what's the kind of thought process that you'd go back and tell your 2011-year-old self now?
My 2011 self, I was already speaking to, having started the whole business of trying to get published back in the 1970s. So when I was having to work full time and everything, all the other things that go on domestically, and try and get published as well, all those trips down to the post office. So I was saying, and I would say still, keep at it. Keep at it, keep learning and keep growing as well, because that's something that I think is absolutely critical. If you are determined that you want to be a writer, don't think that you're going to end up making a living out of it, because you'll be very, very lucky if you can. I certainly have never made a living out of it. Okay, I make some money out of it these days, but not enough. I wouldn't say it's enough to fund my lifestyle, because it's not. And very, very few people. I mean, it's like a tiny percentage of writers actually get to be that luxurious thing, a full-time writer. And you just got to keep at it. You got to do it because you want to do it. You need to do it. And in 2011, I felt very much as I feel now. I couldn't stop writing. I don't believe in retirement. It doesn't exist to me. Technically, the age I am now, I should have retired a few years ago. No chance. What would I do? What on earth would I do with myself? I don't play golf. I might join a reading group, but fair enough. I could join that anyway. No, just keep at it and read, read, read. And as I had a wonderful English teacher when I was doing A-level English, wonderful, much missed Mrs. Wynne. And she used to say to us, a very eccentric lady, she used to draw herself up to a full height of 4'10", and she would announce, most of us were far taller than she was, and she would announce to us, ladies, if there's one thing in life that I can impart to you, it is this: be positive. Even if you're wrong, be wrong positively, and read everything, even pornography. Just read everything, but read it critically. And she was right.
Yeah.
I don't read lots of pornography, I hasten to add, but yes, she was absolutely right. You've got to be positive that you're going to get there, because you deserve to get there, because my goodness me, you're putting in the hours, you're putting in the effort, and you know how to tell a story because you've learned how to tell a story, and you've done your homework, and you've read what other successful writers have to say. You listen to successful writers, you read successful writers, you read writers who know how to write in a particular style and are really, really good at it, and you've analysed their work to see, well, what is it they do that makes them so good, and then you've gone away and made that you as well. This doesn't mean plagiarising, it means learning and making something work in your own style, developing your own style, your own way of doing that. So keep at it. Short answer to your question. Don't give up.
Well, so what does your publishing cycle look like? Because as I say, you had a lot of books on your table, and we'll be going on to speaking about your new book, Ghosts of Chantelands, very, very soon. But what do you have a sort of outline for what you want to write each year? Do you have kind of general seasons that you cycle through? What does a year look like on your publishing calendar?
Right. Well, I aim these days. I aim to write one novel a year. Now that's usually something for around about the 90,000 word mark these days. It's gone up quite a bit over the years.
Huh.
So I aim to do at least one. Now that involves the whole process, which includes, in my case, because a lot of my books are set somewhere in history, or at least partially. I pride myself on being very meticulous with my research. So that includes the research, the preliminary stuff, looking at locations, deciding if there's a house to be involved or a building of any kind, what's that going to look like? So all the research, it includes the first draft, it includes subsequent drafts, it includes sending, when I'm happy as happy as I can be, I send my work to my friend Julia Cavan, I mentioned briefly earlier. She always beta reads for me, but she does far more than that. She gets into the story and she shows me the error of my ways, and she knows she can be totally honest with me, because that's what I want her to be. Tell me if I'm going completely around the bend, or offered a complete tangent, or suspended disbelief to the point where the whole thing's nonsensical and is never going to be retrieved. But she will tell me all of that. Then it comes back to me again. Then I have another go, and I do another couple of drafts until I think, right, this is ready for Don Doria. Then I send it off to Don, because Don has first refusal on any full-length novel submissions of mine. It's built into my contracts with them. So that's the novel. But in addition to that, I will also aim to write short stories, any opportunities that come along, sometimes at quite short notice. So you've got to have a lot of flexibility, and I do that. And also these days, I'm trying to write a novella as well. So I'm able to send something new to Crossroad Press, not just a reprint. Plus, I've run out of reprints now, so they've all gone to Crossroad. So it's good to be able to send them something new. As I did this year. She gets in a quick plug for Matilda's Retreat, which is a novella that was developed out of a short story that for one reason or another didn't get published, but now it's published as a novella. So it's a novel and a novella plus any ancillary short stories that may come along.
And what does that look like on the day to day? Because I've read, I think it was the British Fantasy Society blog post, that you tend to do your business in the morning and then
Yeah.
you do your writing after. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's just the way it works. It works for me. I know other writers like Ramsey Campbell I mentioned. He gets up incredibly early in the morning and sees sort of at his desk for something like 5:30 in the morning, and he'll do his writing in the morning, and then the afternoon is for business and going out for a walk and doing whatever he's wanting to do then, or reading or whatever. I'm completely the other way around. So apart from the reading, but I do that in the evenings and at night time at silly o'clock in the morning, like 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do you have word count targets, or is it kind of just more time based on slots during the day?
I'm sorry, do I have
Word count targets when you write.
word counts? Oh yes, when I'm doing a first draft, I will aim to do 2,000 words that I'm happy with in a day.
Oh, that's
So,
that
yeah.
caveat is hard.
Yes. Well, I'm happy with them then. It doesn't mean to say I'm going to be happy with them the next day.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to say that those 2,000 words that go in this week don't come out in 2 months' time in an oh my God, what was I thinking?
Hmm.
Slam, 5,000 words in the bin. I've done that before now. That's something else you've got to be prepared to do.
Throw away a lot of words. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot, yes. If it doesn't move the plot along, out it comes. If a character doesn't work, I've been known to slash out complete characters that I really loved. Oh,
Hmm.
there was one in the After Death of Caroline Rand. He was a lovely guy. He was absolutely super. He was a real hippie, and he just had a lovely nature. And that was the problem. He just sat there being lovely and doing absolutely nothing at all. And the few contributions he did make sounded better coming out of somebody else's mouth anyway. So out he went.
Yeah.
You've got to be ruthless.
You do. What would you say makes a Catherine Cavendish story, and what are the kind of influences? I mean, from our brief conversation about Rosemary's Baby and having read Ghost of Chantelands, I can even now see sort of parallels in style and in how the story works. But how would you describe a Catherine Cavendish book?
Right. Well, primarily it's going to be spooky. It's going to be scary and spooky with dark corners and things glimpsed out of the corner of your eye, but not quite. But was it really there? But oh my God, it's threatening me.
Hmm.
There's a lot of shadows, there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of what's going on? Oh, so things implied and twists and turns, and well, if you can find a happy ending, good luck. I don't write happy endings. I don't like them.
No,
So
I don't for some reason. It's just I don't think it's realistic.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's ghostly, spooky, creepy, rather than slash gore, acres of Kensington gore, blood everywhere, entrails pouring out. I don't do that because there are other people who are far better at doing that than I am. I just find if I try and write that, it just turns out comical. Well, I don't want it to be. So, I mean, I've written violence. Yeah, Pendle Curse has got violence in it. It's a witchcraft. It was quite often some violence in novels that I write with witches in, because I do break the mold and come away from the purely haunted house, spooky, gothic theme and go into a witchy theme on occasions. And Pendle Curse being a notable example, where you've got some really pretty evil witches going on there, doing some pretty evil things. And some of those are pretty gory, but that's really the exception to the rule. So yeah, spooky, ghostly, haunted.
What
Shirley
makes
Jackson.
what makes a good ghost story in your opinion?
Read Shirley Jackson.
Done.
Oh God, no, seriously, it's got to be. I think it's got to have loads of atmosphere, and usually the ghost and the place come together. Not always, but usually. So the place that the ghost is haunting in itself, by default, becomes a character. So that's what I tend to do with my places, like Linden Manor, I mentioned earlier, is a place. Chantelands is another case in point. various other places that have more than Hurst Hall, various other houses and castles and places, they themselves are absorbing the atmosphere and the evil and the everything that's gone wrong that has gone on within those walls over these centuries. Very much this thing, they call it the stone tape theory, where the bricks and mortar and so forth and stone of a building can actually absorb terrifying events that have happened in its history and kind of replay them where necessary or where stimulated to do so. So yeah, I need that going on, and I need what I really also look for is the suspense, the things happening at the end of the cliff edges at the end of chapters, the
Yes.
twist at the end where you really thought you got it sussed, and there you find all of a sudden you haven't, and there's something else there. That is it's a good story, but it's also a good ghost story for me. So it's the elements of a suspense story with added ghosts.
Have you found that as stories have evolved from, I mean, obviously you said there, Shirley Jackson, like Haunting of Hill House is one of my all-time favourite books, because I read that and literally thought, I don't know how to achieve what you've just achieved. But, you know, since then, stories change and stories evolved, and with modern times, you know, it almost sometimes feels like, and it's not true, but it feels like every story has been told. So what is your approach when it comes to creating new supernatural sort of gothic-y, spooky stories today?
I'd look for something, a simulation that I hope I haven't read somewhere else before. And I know you say that everything has already been written. Take Ramsey Campbell as an example. He is a guy who's been 60 plus years. I had the honour of interviewing him for a book launch for a book that came out officially on his 60th anniversary of publication. And yet, if you look at all the books, which is 65 plus novels, goodness knows how many novellas, and heaven knows how many hundred short stories, a lot of which have got the gothic and ghostly theme, not all of them by any means. He's always reinventing himself, but he is always reinventing. And he almost sets a challenge for the rest of us who aspire to his lofty heights to be able to also do the same. So I tend to look for ghosts in different places that other people aren't writing about, or different types of ghosts, or things that are going on in places that people aren't writing so much about. I've got a book coming out next year, which is Vienna Hexen, and it's actually set in Vienna, in Austria. Now, I know there have been ghostly books written about and centered in Vienna, but not too many. So I've got a little bit of fertile ground there that I can plough, and know that I'm not treading on too many toes or you know, whatever, offending anybody who may have walked down those same streets. I look for ghostly and scary things, spooky things in normal everyday events as well. Somebody said, I have a story, a book called Cold Revenge, which is reprinted now by Crossroad Press, where you've got a number of people invited to a party, and they are served a dish, one dish. That's all they get to eat. The minute they taste that dish, and it's a cold starter, see what I did there? All of a sudden, something from their past comes out, and they're confronted with it. And so, you know, that all came from the revenge as a dish served cold. You know, I haven't seen too many books written or stories written around that. So that was something which was fairly unusual, shall we say. The structure of it, I was told by the publisher, was very unusual, but just seemed a logical way to do it. I won't go into any more detail about that, but give too much away. Cold Revenge. So yeah, I look for the ordinary that hasn't been dealt with too often, and I look for different places that perhaps haven't featured too heavily in works to try and then have just the characters and the house themselves and the twists just a bit different. You don't have to change all that much to have a unique story.
So obviously that leads us nicely into your brand new book, Ghosts of Chantelands, which comes out at the time of when this goes live. It will be out in a few weeks. It's currently available for pre-order on the stores. I've checked. Tell us a little bit about Ghosts of Chantelands and what readers should get excited for.
Right, okay. Well, Chantelands is a house. It's a house with beautiful grounds and so forth. And it's 1940. Pamela Courtney. She's a 14-year-old girl. She's our narrator, and she takes us through the story. She's been evacuated there by her well-meaning mum because she's living near Coventry and Hitler's busy bombing everywhere. So she's gone to Chantelands, where she's going to be living with her two spinster aunts. One of them, Aunt Jilly, has been in the silent movies, and she's a very sort of away with the fairies, basically, Jilly. We found out there's a lot to Jilly. And Aunt Bunny, on the other hand, is a very sort of strict, straight-laced, quite Victorian older sister. Pamela discovers the attic at Chantelands, and she starts rummaging around and starts finding artifacts. And some of these artifacts start to reveal something of the story of Chantelands and something of its past and something of a feud that went on many years ago, back in Georgian times. But in addition to that, it's not just the house that's haunted, and indeed the room where Pamela is staying that's haunted. It's also the grounds as well. And as she delves deeper and deeper, Pamela finds herself drawn further and further into Chantelands' past, and in particular, what happened 200 years earlier. In the meantime, she is also visited by ghosts of a much more recent nature. And we'll leave it there.
I can tell you're a professional. It's so funny when I ask authors that kind of question about their book. About 7 times out of 10, it's normally, oh, I wasn't ready for this. And it's like, we like writing the books. Like selling's a whole different beast. But even I've read the book and I got goosebumps from that bit. So I'm going to go into what was the origin of this story, and how did it kind of come to fruition? Where did this story begin for you?
Okay. Well, so as I mentioned, ideas just come from nowhere, really. And this one, it all started with the otters. And if you read Coast of Chantelands, you know there's a couple of rather lovely otters in there. And those rather lovely otters, well, they're real, what's the word, good templates, if you like, are real. And they live in Martinmere Wetlands Centre, which is not very far from here, which is a wildlife centre. And my poor, long-suffering husband, Colin, I dragged him along on a freezing cold day in early March a couple of years ago. I said, I want to watch these otters. I want to see what they do. You know, they're playing with each other and what they do. And everybody else, every sane person at Martinmere that day had gone into the cafe, or they got themselves in the bird hides or something like that. They were undercover. Oh, no, not Colin and I. We're standing there. He's shivering. I'm mesmerised by these two gorgeous otters just playing and just grooming each other and just being utterly delightful. So that's where it started. The otters started it. And from then on, it develops. I wanted something. I love working in that era of the Second World War and various aspects of it, but again, not the usual. So I knew I wanted to do that. I also get Country Life, and every week, which is a fabulous magazine full of wonderful property. And I saw a couple of houses there for sale, and I thought, if I mash those two together, that is Chantelands. I can see that. And by the by, that's the only thing that I have in common with Jilly Cooper. Did you know, not a lot of people know this, did you know that Jilly Cooper was her inspiration for the houses, grand houses, where she had set her novels from the pages of Country Life?
Really?
Yep.
A solid way
I
to do
didn't
it.
know until after she died, yeah. It was something I can't remember. I think it was Country Life that actually mentioned it. That she said that that's where she got her inspiration from. And it works. I mean, I've got these houses put them together, and there's Chantelands. So it came together piecemeal, but like a jigsaw, put all the pieces together. But it all started with the otters.
Mm. And so I read again on this because for people who want to read it, it's up on the British Fantasy Society website. You did a fantastic blog there about the things that inspire you, how you kind of work and everything. Your writing process. So for this, was it similar to your others in that you are a pantser, and so you don't have that solid sort of outline of where you're going, but obviously you had these pieces, these elements, and you just discover along the way. Talk us for a little bit about that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Pantser is a very good way of describing me, because I have tried writing plot lines for every chapter. I have friends who do that.
I hate it.
I did that once, and then no, it didn't work. I ended up writing a completely different book. No. So my first draft is perhaps the equivalent of somebody else's notes, except that my first draft will be 70, 80,000 words long, because in other words, it's a novel length thing, because that's where the story comes together. Initially, when I first create a folder, I very often haven't even got a title. I just have a place name for it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I can't remember what it was. I think it was just called Chantelands actually at that point. But I don't know what. There's a reason why I'm calling it Chantelands, but that's another story. So I just start off with that. I get the page formatted how I want it on Word, and then I'm there with my fingers poised on the laptop. And I've already got an idea. I've been building up an idea of, in this case, Pamela and Jilly and Bunny as well. I had the three characters pretty well developed in my mind, and I'd been watching Louise Brooks in Pandora's Box of silent film. It's Louise Brooks is a fascinating character. And so I got Jilly looking like Louise Brooks, but she isn't a bit like Louise Brooks. And I got Bunny very much just total antipathy of her. But that was it, really. I didn't really know. I knew there was going to be ghosts. I knew that it was going to be the house, it was going to be the lake, it was going to be the otters, it was going to be Pamela evacuated there, and these two spinster aunts. And that there was going to be something going on there that was only going to be revealed at the end. And that's about it. I start typing. And the characters take over. And the story and the characters, I also mean the house, take over. Mm-hmm. And start to write the story, so much so that I tend to be typing faster and faster to try and keep up with them. I'm not a particularly accurate typist. It's like I've got to keep up with what's going on in my head. We'll worry about the kind of corrections later. Mm-hmm. So, and that's it really, and then the story just develops from there. So I'm working flat out when I'm doing that, trying to get this, obviously, set to myself this word target of 2,000 a day. Sometimes I manage more, sometimes it's a bit less. But I proceed and I sort of really immerse myself in that. And that includes whatever I'm reading, whatever I'm watching on TV. I'll watch something up on YouTube, an old silent film, for example. Or I read a biography of Tallulah Bankhead. Which is absolutely fascinating, autobiography. Oh, she's amazing, that woman. read her autobiography, and you would swear she wrote it yesterday. And this is this amazing woman who was from a very wealthy family in southern states of America. She decides she's going to become an actress. She's also one of the bright young things of the 1920s. So she mixes with all the greats of that period, Evelyn Waugh, Noel Coward, all sorts of people. And she and Marlena Dietrich crossed paths on occasions. Tallulah Bankhead was an amazingly exotic type of person for whom really there were no barriers. If she could smoke it, she smoked it. If she could sniff it, she sniffed it. And sadly, if she could stick it in a needle, she stuck it in a needle. So, and if she could drink it, she drank it. And along the way, she lived the most fascinating life, and she lived longer than perhaps other people might have thought she would have done. If you get a chance to read her autobiography, do this. It's really, really brilliant, really excellent story. But yeah, so starting off, I'm absorbing all of that. I'm sort of getting into the time and the era, and I've got these wonderful characters starting to tell the story in my head. I'm getting all that down on paper in the first draft. And then, of course, as we all know, as writers, the first draft is the first draft. That's when the writing begins.
Yes.
So then on, it's stop and start really then, because I like to leave gaps between drafts to clear my head really. So that's what really sort of adds to the time and means it can take a year to write a novel. Yeah. There's a lot of gaps in between.
Yeah. Were there particular challenges with this book that you came up against that either kind of put it in jeopardy or that, you know, helped you evolve in ways that you didn't expect as an author?
Not really, no. Actually, this was one of the easier ones that kind of flowed more quickly.
It's nice when that happens.
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. I mean, I've had books and yeah, the After Death of Caroline Rand was one when I absolutely painted myself into a corner. And I thought, how the hell is she going to get out of this one? I honestly had, I thought, but I really like this corner I've painted her into. But how am I going to get her out? I mean, I did come up with a solution, but yeah, it took a while. So I just wrote around it, as if the actor hadn't turned up that day. You know, just sort of filmed around it. And eventually it came to me. And these things as well, I always find that whenever I've really stuck with something, as I say, it really didn't happen with Chantelands. Whenever I'm really stuck with something, having a shower, or even, dare I say it, going to the loo, the idea comes to me then.
Yeah.
It's never sort of sitting at my desk. The most knotty problems are solved in the shower or in the loo.
Yeah. Mine are walks generally. Although I've definitely had those moments.
Work.
Yeah.
I've tried that, but it just don't work. No.
Yeah. So, as we say, as of when this episode goes live, which as we're recording it is tomorrow, so it'll be the 17th of July, it'll be a month until this book comes out. What would you say to people on the cusp of thinking that they might buy this book? What would tip them over the edge for you to go out and buy a copy of Ghosts of Chantelands?
I think it is. Oh, so what's the USP of this book? It is what happens in the end, actually. It's the twist at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite endings. And I've got to say, yeah, it is the ending, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's for anybody that enjoys a ghost story, anybody that enjoys a haunted house, I hope, will enjoy this. I write what I enjoy reading, and this is the kind of thing I enjoy reading, and I read a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like me and you enjoy reading about ghosts and haunted houses, especially in a historical setting that has been well researched, then and the otters.
And the otters, 100% the otters.
And the otters.
Yeah. And I will say, as someone who I was lucky enough for you to send me over an advance copy, so thank you for that. It's ghost stories aren't normally my typical genre I go to, but I've read Riley Sager's Home After Dark a couple of years back, and I have read a few others. But this book gave me note of that kind of atmospheric, very character-driven spookiness. I would say horror. There are elements of horror in there, like you say, it's more the atmosphere, but it definitely still has that more classical tone, obviously because of the period, because of everything else. But it felt relentless, but in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Like every chapter there was something building it up, and something it was just ratcheting up to that ending that obviously we're not gonna say on before the book comes out. But yeah, absolutely, people pick up your copy on the 18th of August and make sure you check out everything that Kat has written, because there are some corkers in there. We are getting close to time now, so are you ready to jump into the terrifying and famous quickfire round, in which I throw 10 questions at you as quickly as I can, and you answer them as quickly as you can?
Right. Well, is anyone ever really ready for this? I'm as ready as I will ever be, Dan. Fire away and we'll see what happens.
Perfect. This is going to be fun. Okay, so question 1. Would you rather be haunted by a ghost, a ghoul, or a poltergeist?
Oh, definitely a ghost. You could
It,
reason with a ghost. You can't reason with a poltergeist. And a ghoul, I really, really would not want to be anywhere near.
no, I wouldn't. If you could travel in time and experience any decade, which decade would that be?
The 1920s.
Nice.
But just absolutely, but I would have to be rich. I'd have to be in this sort of class like of Tallulah Bankhead, although hopefully I wouldn't commit quite as many excesses as she did and might to remember more of, yeah.
When you hit a bump in the road with your writing, do you solve it with pen and paper or do you work your way out by typing your way through?
These days I usually type.
Hmm?
Yeah.
How many cats is too many cats?
Infinity. No, no such thing as too many cats.
Can ghosts sing?
So cat and ghosts
Can ghosts sing?
can go sing.
Yeah. Never seen a singing ghost. Can they?
I have never met one, but I'm quite sure they can because sirens can, can't they?
Yes.
Yeah, totally different thing altogether, but sirens can. I have no reason to assume ghosts can't.
What is one book from another author that you wish you'd written yourself?
Oh God, anything by Ramsey Campbell.
I can get that impression. What is your favourite dessert?
What's my favourite
Dessert.
dessert? Has got to be, oh gosh, there are a few actually, but I'm going to say a really nice, really strong sherry trifle.
Oh, nice.
Old school. Syrup,
Planes.
cream and custard.
Oh, nice. Classics. Planes, buses, or trains?
Planes, buses, trains. Yeah,
Okay.
there's more going on a train, and I'm thinking of setting a story in a train on a train as well.
Oh,
But
there's a lot
again,
you
back
can
in
do.
history,
Yes, yes. What is your dream holiday destination?
Vienna and Austria.
Damn.
It's my second home. I adore it.
And what one book would you recommend above all others, excluding your own?
Oh God, what a question!
It's always stumps people. I love
I've
it.
only got one, but do you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to actually say one that I keep coming back to, and it's a book called Creature, and it's by Hunter Shea. That's S for sugar, Hea. He's an American writer. The book
I've
does
read
happen
that.
to be published by Flame Tree
Mhm.
Press. Yeah, but it's an unusual book for Hunter to write. It's a fabulous novel. It actually made me cry. It's a horror novel, but it made me cry.
It's got some heart, that book.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's got some
Yeah.
heart. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's got a lot of heart in it, and it just you need to read up about it and read it. It's absolutely fabulous, and you can get it in all. I think it's in all shapes and shapes. I'm not sure about audio, but it'll certainly be in paperback, ebook, and probably paper hardback as well. But
Yeah.
yes, Hunter Shea's Creature. I mean, this is apart from, of course, Emily Bronte and the rest of the Brontes and Armistead Maupin. And
We're cheating now. We're cheating now.
okay, Creature by Hunter Shea.
Yeah, fantastic. And one bonus question is, where can my listeners find out all about yourself and everything you've got going on?
All right. Well, I'm all over social media. So catherinecavendish.com is my website stroke blog, and I keep that up to date pretty regularly. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Not that I'm doing very well on TikTok. I don't really understand the point of TikTok, but there from my point of view. But I'm trying. Threads, very trying. Blue Sky, Facebook. Am I missed any out? Oh, no, that's right. No, that's it. I think that's
That
about
covers
it.
it, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just about.
Marvellous. Well, that is a wrap then. So thank you so much, Kat, for coming on to the Writer's Chair podcast this week.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Dan. And I know you're going to have a wonderful job going chop, chop, chop through all the rambling.
We love ramblers on
Cat's
podcasts.
prowl.
Yeah. And a big thank you to everyone listening. Thank you for being here. If today's conversation has sparked something inside of you, go and do something with it. That's the whole point. And if you want to go deeper, whether that's with your writing, your process, or actually finishing your book, head over to danielwilcox.com/writers, where there's a growing list of resources for you. And until next time, my friends, write bravely and dream big. Thanks again, Kat.
Thank you. Bye.